Hey, this is Sasha, and thanks for joining me in today's episode on Backstage Income, where I share with you some insights and concepts of going behind the scenes and growing a profitable online business. Now, today we're going to start numbering our episodes, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at how we mind map our online business. So I'll share with you how I personally use it behind the scenes to mind map our overall business and how things will progress in the future. So we're going to cover 5 main points. What is mind mapping? The ideal time to use mind maps. How I personally use mind mapping in my business. Other ways to use mind maps and a handful of other mind mapping tools. So let's start out with point number 1 with what is mind mapping. So mind mapping overall is a way to go ahead and take an idea and expand it. And it's oftentimes a good time to do this when you don't know the branches or areas you want to get into with this idea or concept. So think of this like a seed when you're growing a plant or some sort of live vegetable. When you start out with a seed, eventually things start to expand and you have this little nub that starts to poke out, and then you get the leaves and other things that start to expand, and finally you might get a little piece of fruit or a tomato. So eventually things start to grow and expand, and you go from the seed part, you go all the way to start growing and popping out of the dirt. Then you have that little stem. You go ahead, you might expand to the flower, and eventually it might turn into some fruit or other things. You could look at it as a tree where it expands branches, and that's really what a mind map is it starts with a center piece and expands outward. Now you could do this for a lot of different things. Here's an example of a mind map where we start out with article ideas, let's just say for the My Little Nest Egg blog. And you could say, okay, well, what categories am I going to have? And I might have a budgeting category, a save money category, credit card debt category. And you start to expand these kinds of things and say, hey, well, where or what articles do I want to create about this? So as we start zooming into things, let's say we get into budgeting. Well, you might have budgeting apps, you might have a what category. What are some budgeting techniques? What does budgeting mean? What is budgeting and why is it important? Budgeting tools. So you have these budgeting. You could have, let's say from here, you create another branch and you could say budgeting stories. And then from here, if you know, let's say Jimmy, his story about budgeting, you could have Susie, her story as well. So as you start expanding on this concept, you can see how the mind maps eventually continue to grow. And that's really what a mind map is it just continues to grow to sort your ideas and thoughts to where you can see, hey, this little area might be a little too big, or it has too many concepts, or this little area needs a little more thought and planning to it. And you can see what branch you're kind of following and moving in what direction. So that's kind of the whole point or goal of a mind map. And I find it's great to use for big picture concepts. Now you might be a light mind map user, you might be a more intermediate mind map user, or you could be a heavy mind map user. So using mind maps is going to be different for different people. And let's get into the next part number 2, for the ideal time to use mind maps. So as far as using mind maps, I find that using them either in a big picture concept or an intermediate concept is the most ideal. You have other people that use this really as almost a to-do list. So let's say we create kind of our to-do list as a mind map, and you could say, hey, we'll do this on Monday, then we'll do this on Tuesday, this is our Wednesday, Thursday, and so on as you continue to expand these things. Well, let's say we're on Monday and now you have this list of, let's say I need to go to the store. You might say go to the dentist. Then you also have, tasks to do, customer support emails. Let's just say emails to do here. So all these kinds of things, you start to expand and start going into it. And this is a very heavy use of a mind map when you start really going into the nitty-gritty of the exact things to do. Instead, for me personally, what I found over the years is mind maps are much better when you think about them in a big picture concept. When you look at them and look at the long-term view. Maybe check it once a day in the evening or in the morning to make sure things are progressing, but you're just looking at it at that point. You might add a little branch here and there, and that's the real way that I personally use mind maps, rather than kind of creating a to-do list and segmenting every little nitty-gritty. Otherwise, what's going to end up happening is your mind map's going to be too big. So how do we use mind maps in our business? This takes us to point number 3. And I'll share with you my big picture business plans, because by then, by the time this video rolls out and by the time you watch it, we might have already developed many of these plans. So as I zoom out, okay, you can see here's kind of our stems, or the big mind map picture of just ideas, thoughts, concepts. Not all of these are going to pan out or work out. It's just branches and things I'm thinking about or ways to develop. Now, you could go into the history, and I'll show you 11 days ago how this really looked. It was just a small mind map, okay? I'm not sure if you can go back further, but about 11 days ago, that was what it looked like. As we start rolling into about 9 days ago, you can see it started to expand. Then 8 days ago, you can see I expanded the top right branches. 6 days ago, we moved a few things around. 4 days ago, we really expanded that lower right area a day ago, and about 11 hours ago. So I don't work on it every day, but periodically maybe I'll move something, maybe I'll change a color here and there, just to see how things are progressing. And this is the way I look at it. So let's say I have my big business plans. These are big ideas that I'm looking for, my overall big business. I could also maybe create this maybe in one segment of a business, but for now I just use it in a big business plan idea. So we have a couple of businesses really that we run online. We have the Rise to Learn website, which is a courses educational website, the Traders Fly, which is all about investing and stock trading, My Little Nest Egg, which we're developing, all about personal finance, and the Backstage income one here as well. And I'll share with you these kinds of concepts here. So what we're doing here with our Rise to Learn website, you can see here I have this Rise to Learn little road. And as it leads here to the upper side, you can see we have this green and yellow segment that continues to move higher. And this goes into our website. So a big part of that is our website redevelopment that we're working on. Now within that, we have some page upgrades that we need to work on. So these are the other little stems for that, and those are in progress or almost done. So once the website segment is done, I'll actually delete this whole branch. Then after that, we might get into web optimizations after we finish the pages. And you can see there, we'll want to upgrade the membership system, maybe add in like a checkout or a nicer checkout, and then optimize the code, because you'll want to make sure things are optimized, could be security things, and those are some of the things to do it. The other big part of that business is the product side, product development. How are we progressing with product development? Okay, so we have some books that maybe are working on in progress that I'm writing. So I have those, and I have those titles there because those take a while to make. I don't usually put things here that, take maybe a few minutes to do or a few seconds to do. So, there's no need for that. Instead, it's a big picture idea. And then we also have a courses branch. So as we here take a look at our courses, you can see right there, we have different courses that are being worked on. And we have the options course, another version of the stock trading foundation course. So these are some of the courses that'll be in development. They'll probably be there for a year or two in this mind map. And then we have some marketing things to do also. So it could be refilm a few sales videos, just a couple of products, the way that they're working within the funnel, and those kinds of things. But these need to be done first before we get into some of these other things. So that's kind of one big branch. Now, I have some other ideas here thinking about show segments, which I don't want to confuse you on. But here, the next branch that we have is this Traders Fly branch, which is our investing segment, which again, we're looking at reworking the website layout. So again, we're moving the memberships over to maybe a members.tradersfly site. So that way, those sites are separated rather than our front page website, which is more of a sales site or a lot of free content, and then the members segment, so it'll be a lot more cleaner. So then we also have new products and services there that are going to be created. Now, I put a few icons there that may be group coaching, options membership, dividend annual report, 2-day intensive sessions. These all could be great, but I put a timer there because those take up quite a bit of my personal time. So, and again, we have a marketing segment there, concepts. Now, let's jump to the Backstage income one, which is with the video that you're watching here about business. So you could see I could go ahead and start segmenting things out here. Well, Do I want to create an Ask Sasha segment? Do I want to work on that? It's, again, something you think about, and maybe I'll leave there for a week, a month, 2 months, and think about that kind of idea. The marketing, how am I going to approach maybe the marketing? Here's a little test we were running, video to an article test. How long does it take to convert it? Put the thumbnails up, that kind of thing. So, and in fact, because this is done, I'll go ahead and close this out. I could go ahead and X this out as well. Sometimes when I'm thinking about something, let's just say one of these areas, I may go ahead and change the color by right-clicking here, and I might change that little leg or segment to a different color. And of course, you can move all these around. But then we get into products, and this is the big thought process I was thinking about with the product segments with this business or within this kind of company. And I'm looking at all these different things, and I start looking at, okay, well, do I want to create a membership site course? Do I want to create kind of courses about writing ebooks? Do I want to create money courses or YouTube courses how to build a YouTube channel? Maybe a podcasting course. So all of these things are things I'm thinking about. There could be some one-off products like how to network, use pay-per-click. But in either case, this is how I basically use mind maps, and it's just looking at a big picture view of my overall business. Now on the left is just ideas that are kind of I'm thinking about, or business ideas, could be other niches I'm looking to explore. So I won't show you that segment, but you see really how you can start stemming and building out these segments for your business and how to use these mind maps. Now, there's many other ways to use mind maps. Let's just say you go ahead and you're interested in, let's say, writing an ebook. So if I want to write an ebook, I could say, hey, well, I want to have maybe an introduction. I could go ahead and create chapter 1 would be about, this one little thing. So you start creating your little chapters. Then you go ahead and create another chapter here. So as you start expanding, you might have multiple chapters here. Okay, right? So you have chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. And you could do it this way, where you start organizing your thoughts and doing it by chapter, by writing your book. Okay. But the other approach to doing this is, let me just do it off of another branch. Let's just say, write the book. Then I'll go ahead, create covers, marketing, and start thinking about it this way. So writing the book, here I might have chapters, quotes, and from chapters, now I have, let's say, my introduction. It could be a table, stories, you might have resources page. So you could start planning things out like this, and you just start expanding this. Okay, write the book, right? So when you're writing the book, then you need editing. You might have these quotes. So here you got to find the quotes to use. You could also include things, hey, graphics. So I have to come up and think about graphics. How is that progressing? So this is really how you start thinking about it. Same thing with kind of covers. Let's say create covers, put up a posting for covers. It could be also where you go ahead and proof and review ideas. You could go ahead and do a print test. So all these things start to add up and start going through your mind as far as brainstorming goes, as far as building the book out. How are you going to market it? What's going to be the price point? How about your list? How are you building your list? How are you going to go beyond the book? Are you going to do any coaching with it? Maybe affiliates as well in there. So again, you start looking at all these things that start stemming and going out wider. So this is another way to really start using mind maps to really brainstorm ideas or planning things out. And then what I do is I start looking back at this maybe once a day. It could be once a week, but it doesn't have to be long. It could be 1 minute, it could be 5 minutes, and you're just kind of looking, okay, well, is everything still in alignment? And that's really what I do. It's not about, hey, crossing these things off. It's about just organizing your thoughts and making sure you're still doing the day-to-day tasks that are in the right progression. Now, there are a handful of other mind map tools. You've seen me use this tool. This is Coggle.it. And if you want to go ahead and use the Coggle, here's my Coggle link, and you just get a few referrals, but it is actually absolutely free unless you want everything to be private. You only get 3 private boards or mind maps with Coggle.it unless you pay for a plan, and for us that's perfectly fine. But there are other mind map tools here. If you want to take a look at Mashable, they have a huge list of tools like MindMeister, IMAP, but here's kind of XMindZen. You can see all the tools are very similar in the way to organize thoughts. It really just comes down to which one you feel comfortable with. There's bubble.us, so you can see you create kind of bubbles. Here's MindMeister, which I used MindMeister as well in a couple of ideas for it, but I found that it's very systematic and robotic for me personally, like moving these things around. You can collapse these things, which is great, which Coggle does not really allow you to do that much. But Coggle, what I liked about this one, Coggle.it, was just the movement and fluidity along with the app for Android, and it makes it very, very user-friendly. So again, there's also imindmap.com and Mind42, which you can see other people's mind maps here and how different they are. You can see, you can create all kinds of mind maps, more linear mind map. So if you go to Coggle.it public mind maps, you can also see in the gallery here how people really can get very complicated with it. And this is why I like Coggle.it, is you can really just start looking at these, business opportunities, what people are doing here, and you can see some of these get very complicated. But I don't think you need to get this advanced to really, create something worthwhile or usable in your business. But you can see there's just some things that really can be as complicated as you want it or as simple as you want it. And really, as you start zooming out and seeing the big picture, it allows you to really just see how these things work. So, use it what's best for you and what makes the most sense. For me, that's kind of the way I use it, but of course for you, it's going to be different depending on your personal needs. So thank you so much for joining me in this week's video. I hope you found it helpful and insightful and really learned quite a bit. If you want to join us on some other training videos, then be sure to subscribe on our newsletter list, or of course check out some of our other videos or hit one of the playlists there, so that way you can continue going through some of our other episodes. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.